So, the topic for today sounds this way: hacking Swift UI with UIKit. So, the agenda for presentation, we start with the question, of course, why? Why do we need to hack? So it doesn't sound like some legal action for development. But anyway, then we'll go through some examples, how we do it in our project, and also which benefit we get from it. So start with example of return key, then go through navigation, talk how to achieve UIViewController from Swift UI, and at the end, so get some examples how could we use power of UIViewController. So, for the question why, answer sounds like this. So, for Swift UI, we could meet the situation when some quite easy feature from UIKit in Swift UI just not implemented. So, easy like this. And a good example for this, it's customization for return key in our keyboard. So for different fields, we could change a bit this button, like use join or next or send. Yeah, sounds quite easy, but for Swift UI, not always easy. So they, of course, have this method, submit label, where we could provide this type of the button. But as you could see in documentation, it requires at least iOS 15. So if you want at least 14 or maybe 13, you need to do something. And this is a good example. So for users on iOS 14, they could say that in Swift UI it wasn't implemented yet. So I'll remind you how it was in UIKit. So no magic, just one easy property in the label, return key type. We could apply this value, so like join, and that's all what we need to do. And so to do something similar without iOS 15 and more, we could inspect what we really have in this text editor, so in usual text input for Swift UI. So for this small example of code with just this tag and text editor inside, with debugger we could see this structure. So as you could see, this highlighted two lines for text editor. They create something like UIKit text view adapter. And for it also there is text editor, text view, and there's inside some text that's I provided just to show that it's exactly this field. And if we'll print the description of this text editor, text view, so it looks exactly like this. So you can see that's base class. It's our old UI text view, and so we could just achieve it, just get it and use and get some extensions that we could not find in text editor of Swift UI. So idea could be like this: we will catch notification from keyboard when it's try to show, then get first responder, so it's like text view. And for this text view, just apply this property from UIKit, return key type. And here comes the magic from UIKit. It has this method send action that's you could send some selectors or some method to any target with some maybe event. And in the documentation state that if target for this method will be nil, in that case, it will be sent to first responder and then go through responder chain. So seems very promising. We just need to call it, and then it will fire to this first responder, and that's it. And here some additional magic. we could provide for your responder this extension with one more Objective-C method, use it as a selector for this send action, and this method will just get this instance of UI responder, and then we could use it. And so we are talking about SwiftUI project, not UIKit. So to use it more, so for convenience, it's better to have some ViewModifier for it, and it could work this way. So we'll catch keyboard will show notification. So for SwiftUI, there's this special method for notification on receive, where we could get any combine event. And inside, so do this stuff that I just show it, find the first responder, and apply finally this property. And so for modifier, it could be, so make it more convenient, this extension for view, return ktype. And in the end, it could be as simple as this. So very similar as it was for iOS 15, just our different name. Also could be extended. Inside we could also, based on version of iOS, we could use new methods or this approach. But for us was simpler to use only one old, because it needs still convert the types from new one to old one, and that's why we just stayed with this. So it works quite good. Yeah, so this was like only for warm up. So you could see that with UIKit we really could extend API from SwiftUI and provide features that wasn't here. And next step, it's about navigation. Here again, so probably it's very popular topic for SwiftUI presentations that somebody wrote their own navigation system and things like this. So here I won't really present a navigation system, but also share our opinions about this topic. So for iOS 16, now we have this feature. One of feature of the iOS was navigation stack. So seems like good improvement, big improvement for navigation for SwiftUI. But actually, if we'll try to use it and again check it with UI debugger, so we again could see that inside, yeah, there is inside some navigation stack objects, and it's this nice approach with the path. But anyway, inside you could see UIKit navigation controller, and of course it's nothing more than so it's anyway a navigation controller, our old navigation controller that we used in UIKit projects. And yeah, it's have this structure. So inside navigation stack we have a navigation controller, and the navigation controller it uses some special root view controller for probably some internal stuff. And after this, it just adds these hosting controllers that usually we could use to integrate some SwiftUI in UIKit. So it's quite usual. It was before in UIKit projects. And navigation stack, it's only about pushing and popping. And probably it's not only one type of navigation. So there's another big case for it. It's our presenting cases. And here also no magic works quite similar. So if we'll call full screen cover to present some new screen over the whole screen. So it's again creates one more navigation, one more view controller, and if you put a breakpoint on this method of view controller to present this symbolic breakpoint, then you'll get it exactly. You'll be stopped when you try to call this full screen cover. So again, even in this case, we still have ViewController behind the scene. And for us was big pain, maybe not really with navigation, but with dismissing. So sometimes it could be the case for design for the app that we need to recreate the structure of ViewController that we have. Maybe remove something that was in background, maybe change some of them. And for this case, it's important to remove all of them and provide a new hierarchy of ViewControllers. And it's possible to dismiss without animation only in case if we show it as also without animation. All my attempts to show ViewController with show the screen with animation and hide it without animation. So I haven't succeeded with all these attempts, and maybe there is still the way, but I haven't found it. I will try all these methods to remove transition, to remove animation in transition. Some other approaches still doesn't work. So you should show without animation or always do it with animation. If, as I mentioned before, so if we have behind the scene, if we always have behind the scene ViewController, it means that probably we could catch it and just use its methods to cover this case about animation, about dismissing. So let's just catch it and use the power. So how could we do this? For integration of SwiftUI and in UIKit, we could use UI representable, and inside UI representable, we could use some usual UI view. And in this UI view, we could override these two methods, did move to window and did move to superview. These methods allowed us to catch the moment when our view comes to actual view hierarchy. And here we could, on these methods, we could try to actually find our ViewController that's actually on this view. So here we just try to find if we have some window or super view, then we should find. And if we don't have, because these methods calls in both cases when we show view and also when we hide it. When we hide, it's also important to remove this reference to make ViewController nil, because after this moment it will be not so really valid, and it's better not to touch it when it's already removed from hierarchy. So to get ViewController, we could again use UI responder. We could iterate through it and try to just cast it to type of UI ViewController, and this way we could actually find it. And the final solution could be this way. So we could create a ViewModifier to use it more convenient in SwiftUI. Inside, we'll for our content, we'll provide in background this UI view representable. It even could be fully transparent, so opacity 0. And inside this UI view representable, we'll have this special UI view where we actually try to catch the parent ViewController. And the final solution for us works this way. We have this ViewModifier, UIKit, with access property. This property like UIKit gate, just some name. You could provide some object here, and in next steps, you could use it to call any API of UIKit. So this object will get this UI ViewController, and you could just use it inside. And after this, we could fully use all this power. So call dismiss without animation, or with animation if you want. You could use pop to root ViewController. All this stuff becomes available for us, so we could easily manipulate with the structure of ViewControllers. Another feature that we could get with this approach could be a transparent ViewController. If you'll try to create this very usual approach for UI when you have some pop-up or this bottom sheet and you want to have some dimming for background, one usual case, something similar to what we have for purchases, or maybe some other similar processes when you need to block all background but still keep the context and show some custom views over it. For Swift UI, it's quite difficult to provide this transparent ViewController, because if you want to overlap the whole content, then you need to again call this method for presenting, and in that case it also have in background this ViewController, and view of this ViewController actually have a white background. So anything that you will do will be anyway on this white background. And to implement this bottom sheet with dimming, before in UIKit it was very easy. So we could just apply transparent color for background of the view, and that's it, all what we need. But in Swift UI, so while we don't have ViewController, it's quite challenging. If you try to find the solution, usually you could on the stack you could see some suggestion to create your own ViewController with hosting of UIKit, of Swift UI, and so on. And could be quite challenging, but if we'll get this ViewController that we present, so we could do it easy this way, and we'll get in the result transparent ViewController. And next example, it's about back button. Also, for iOS app, quite usual that we have some custom design and need some customization for this back button. This blue color doesn't always work for us. And if you try to do it with usual methods that we have from Swift UI, you could have some issues with this. If you try one common approach for this, use navigation bar items and like use the title for this. So provide back button inside the title. But in this case, you lose this small space on the left. So you could probably push your image in this place, or like move it outside of the bounds, and so like it's possible to show something here, but anyway it won't recognize any touches in this place. And if your back button not so big, it could be maybe not so convenient. Somebody could miss it, and it could be annoying. So you're like trying to move back and it doesn't work. So that could be a bit annoying. And another part for customization of this button, it's usually these methods. So you need to hide default button, and if you do this, it also looks okay. So you see that's everything okay, and the simulator looks good. But actually, it breaks a very usual gesture for iOS apps. So you couldn't swipe back to navigate on previous screen. So some people, when it doesn't work, it's also really annoying. So you don't need to move to this corner. Just it usually works with this swipe, and if it doesn't work, then yeah, it's probably not so good for iOS app. But again, with the power of UIViewController, it could be quite easy. So we could, through UIViewController, get navigation controller, that should be for these back buttons, and get navigation bar and apply this back image, maybe provide in color and maybe change text if we want. So all this stuff that was accessible in our UIKit projects. Yeah, and let's summarize what we got here with this hacking of SwiftUI. So what I would try to show you that's in SwiftUI project, even without any reference to UIKit, it's still possible to access our usual hierarchy of UI views. So with this approach to put UI view on your hierarchy, it will get you access and access to proper point of the hierarchy to all views that you still have in your app. And it will also, if you have some scrolls or ViewController, so you'll have them here. Also, so with these examples, you could see that it could really extend functionality of SwiftUI, and quite clear with the current situation with what we see in navigation, in the scrolls, in text views. So we could see that currently SwiftUI have quite good integration with UIKit, and seeing that it means that UIKit will stay for us quite long, and this hybrid approach, when you have SwiftUI and UIKit together, it's probably quite stable situation, and we could easily use it. Don't be afraid of it. Yeah, and finally, with all the hacking, I should admit that UIKit quite powerful. So all this stuff is navigating through hierarchy, trying to achieve all these fields. Yeah, for me it showed that's UIKit quite powerful framework, and yeah, hopefully one day SwiftUI will be as good as it, or of course better. Yeah, and that's all what I have. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Needed a microphone. Thank you for the talk. It was very interesting. I have a small question. Right in the beginning, you had a function which started with an underscore to track to get a view controller. And instead of returning the view controller, you store it in the static variable. And
Oh, okay.
and I don't understand why you. Yeah, that's exactly the point. Static responder is equals self. Why don't you return self if you are interested in self?
We send this selector, and the idea that first responder could be only one in this context, and when we apply this send action to this nil as a target, then as the result we'll have in this static variable we'll have this responder, and probably send action doesn't provide convenient way to have this return value. That's why we do this way.
Okay. I thought send action would get a return value. But then I have another question. Isn't it frustrating to work on it, or how do your boss thinks about paying you to work on something which next year will be introduced by Apple into SwiftUI?
So, as I said, seeing that current state of SwiftUI and UIKit, so they still should work together. So it doesn't mean that if we work on the SwiftUI, so in that case we won't have anything about UIKit inside, and it's like a bad thing to have something from UIKit inside. So as we could see from Apple, their Swift UI controls, they already have inside Swift UIKit controls. So UI view controllers, scroll view, text view. That's already like an example. That's the thing that's at least at current situation, it's okay. And probably it should take maybe, I don't know, 3 years if we already have this state. If they provide next year some new ideas, at least these states should stay. Apps that we develop right now, they should still work. And yeah, this integration should be quite reliable.
Well, you access things which you are not supposed to access, so therefore you are on your own risk.
So I think that's maybe there is some risk, but not so big really.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Who's next?
Next question. Okay, then thank you.